Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did, so let's get started. Number 5 was Ne Zha 2, making $3 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $14 million and its worldwide total to $1.8 billion. Ne Zha 2 has another week in the top 5, which is really surprising to see given that it's a foreign language film and these movies tend to drop like a rock after their opening weekend. We see them break some new ground in the top 5, cause a bit of a shakeup really, and then just leave after that. But the movie was able to get another weekend in the top 5. Really impressive. The word of mouth seems to be there. People seem to be really interested in checking out what is now one of the biggest movies of all time. It is now the biggest animated film ever. It surpassed the entire worldwide run of Inside Out 2. Remember last year how I said we will never see something like that for a long time? Well, look what happened. We're seeing it pretty much less than a year after the fact. Absolutely insane. And it's also looking like it's going to become the first animated film ever to reach $2 billion. And keep in mind, most of this is just from China. This is just a huge phenomenon in that country. This movie has just played super well over there, and I think it's safe to say this will remain as the biggest film of the year. I don't even think Avatar is gonna crack these numbers. It might get close, but just how massive this movie has done, and just from just one country alone, it's gotten some additional help from some other countries, but yeah, mainly just from one country alone, that is just monumental. They are just loving this movie over there, and it seems to be correlating into America as well. A lot of people are curious to see how this movie was able to gain that much attention over there. And while certainly there's a big difference between how it's doing in China versus how it's doing in the US, this is still rather impressive. It's gonna definitely crack $20 million domestically for sure. It seems like a lot of people are definitely curious to check this movie out, and the word of mouth seems to be very strong. Yeah, overall just a hugely impressive, incredible, phenomenal run for Ne Zha 2 alone. And keep in mind, it's only February, and this movie has already just broke all of these records, shattered all these expectations, mind you. And again, it's looking like it's going to be the biggest movie of the year already. Just monumental performance. Number 4 was Dog Man, making $5.8 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $78 million and its worldwide total to $104 million. So Dog Man continues to do pretty good. It is still falling behind where I thought it would land compared to that really solid opening, but the Super Bowl was a really big event. Like, what else were they gonna do during that weekend? But still, this is a really solid performance overall. Super early in the year, we typically don't get animated movies out like this during this time of year, and it seems to be making the most out of the lack of competition. There's other family films, yes, but this is really like the main animated film out right now, so it's definitely making the most out of that. And because of it, it is now officially surpassed the Captain Underpants film domestically, and I think it'll be able to do that worldwide very soon. So really impressive to see Dog Man. The audience grew up with the Dave Pilkey books and certainly has grown since the Captain Underpants movie, so I think DreamWorks could definitely call this a win for sure. Certainly an improvement. It's on its way to $80 million domestically. We'll see if it can get to $100 million domestically. It seems to be slowing down a bit. I think the hype has slowed down for this, and being for much more younger audience, it doesn't seem to have as much wide appeal as some other animated movies that came out last year. So going to be interesting to see where this falls, but still, with a $40 million budget, I can't see DreamWorks being upset over where this movie is at right now. Again, I mean, it's already surpassed 100 million worldwide. That's well over, almost near like the tripling point for this movie already, and I can't see them being upset where this movie is at. Could it have done better? Yes, sure, especially with that opening, but given circumstances and given how it's done since, I would still call this a win. So yeah, still doing really well. Nothing to be too worried about here. It's just given like the second weekend drop off, that was like the really big bump this movie faced, but still overall a really solid performance for Dogman, still continuing to do pretty well. Number 3 was Paddington in Peru, making $6.5 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $25 million and its worldwide total to $150 million. So while it didn't drop significantly, actually it held really well, just a 49% drop. I thought it would hold a bit better. This was definitely a bit more steeper than I thought it would be. It gives off a sense that this might have been a bit front-loaded. A lot of the diehard Paddington fans might have went to check it out in a rush to see it that first weekend, and it doesn't seem like it's going to reach the heights of the first Paddington. It'll probably surpass the second one, but definitely not going to reach the heights of the first one. I just don't think Paddington is really as big as like the film community seems to have made it out. Yes, those movies are amazing and wonderful, and it's not like this movie is doing really terribly or anything. And internationally, this movie has done gangbusters, and in terms of worldwide numbers, it's just $30 million away from doubling its $90 million budget, which is all good said and done, and they're even working on the fourth film already. But domestically, considering how much people have praised that second movie and hyped up the third one, I thought the turnout would be a bit better. Again, this movie's not doing like horribly or anything. Again, we are improving over the second one, but considering the hype over that second film and the hype for this one, you kind of would have assumed that this movie would have seen a bit of an increase over the first one. Definitely some like sort of a rebound, and maybe this would be like the one that really does like huge bigger numbers, you know what I mean? But again, this movie isn't doing terribly. It's not like it's on the right path or anything, and again, it's not like it's in any real danger by any means. It didn't have a drop like Dogman did in his second weekend, and the reception and response from people seems to still be really positive, and it's one of the few family films out right now. So I think this movie's still gonna leg out very well. It's just gonna be much more of a sleeper hit than like something like Dogman, where like, oh, this movie's doing really, really well. But yeah, still Paddington in Peru, even though I thought it would do a bit better than what it's actually doing, it's still not in rough waters just yet. It's still doing fine. Paddington is fine right now. Number 2 was The Monkey, opening with $14 million this weekend domestically and $16 million worldwide. This is the biggest opening for a horror movie this year, topping Wolfman, Companion, Hard Eyes, and Presence. It is also Neon's second biggest opening ever, sitting behind Longlegs and topping Immaculate, Ferrari, and I, Tonya. And it is the 4th biggest opening of the year overall, topping Paddington in Peru, but still sitting behind Dead of Thieves 2, Dogman, and Captain America: Brave New World. Finally, one of these horror movies breaks out, sort of. I mean, look, let's not get ahead of ourselves. This isn't like the next Quiet Place or anything, but, given the landscape of the horror genre this year, this is a godsend. I think Neon just really nailed it with the marketing. Despite them being a much smaller distributor, they really found a knack for how to sell these types of odd, strange horror movies to the public. The marketing was just super clever, super rich, super strange, and super inviting. A lot of people wanted to go and check it out. They did so much clever stuff. They leaked some emails about how advertisers wouldn't show commercials, all of the various billboards. You could even screen this movie at your local church, from what I heard. They even did something really funny where they said the movie was almost the #1 movie in America. Just bravo, just brilliant marketing, and a lot of people really wanted to go check it out, and the movie is definitely reaping the rewards of it. It was only a $10 to $11 million movie from what I heard. It's already made that budget back, and I'm sure it's going to be able to double it by the end of the week. And also, this is pretty much the only horror movie out right now until, I could be wrong, but I think it is The Woman in the Yard at the end of March. Someone can fact check me in the comments below, but I do believe that's the next big horror movie. So this movie's got plenty of time, plenty of room to grow. That's all good said and done, but the concern is the word of mouth. It got a C+ on CinemaScore, which actually is on par with Osgood Perkins' last film, Longlegs. So, consistency is key. But compared to some other horror movies this year, like Companion and Hard Eyes, those were received much better than this. So it could be interesting to see where this movie goes. Hopefully it's not, front loaded and we don't see like big drops like we saw for those other horror movies. I've seen a lot of mixed reactions from audiences. Some people were turned off by the tone and nature of the movies, others were fully on board with it. So definitely going to be interesting to see where this movie goes from this point forward. I'm not sure if it's going to reach the height of Long Legs, given that reception, but still, we're talking about the opening, and this is still a really great, solid opening for this movie. They really were able to sell this movie, and the movie was able to reap the rewards with it. Yeah, just not much more else to say here, except the monkey had a really great, strong opening. And finally, let's end the video off with the number one movie of the weekend, which was once again Captain America: Brave New World, making $28 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $141 million and a worldwide total of $289 million. Well, it could be worse. I mean, look, the movie did not hold well, but compared to like some of the other big comic book movie disasters like Joker 2 and the Marvels, this ain't too shabby, I guess. It still had the third biggest second weekend drop off in the MCU, behind Quantumania and of course the Marvels, with a 68% drop off. That was to be expected. The word of mouth has not been the best. People just aren't really digging it, just not really going out to see it. It was definitely very front loaded. But it isn't like it's in a lot of danger for an MCU film. It is one of the cheaper, and I mean that in quotes, like the biggest quotations, cheaper films. $180 million. It's about to surpass 300 million domestically. I can definitely see it just barely getting over 200 million domestically, and it's definitely cracking 300 million worldwide. I apologize for that screw up. And there could be a chance that it doubles that $180 million budget, especially with the fact that the horizon isn't looking like too big for a lot of blockbusters this year. Like if this was last year, like we were approaching March, I'd say like, yeah, this movie is done for. We're not gonna see anything good come out of this. But this year, this March, it doesn't look to be that competitive. So there's a chance this movie could leg out because there isn't really much competition for this movie. I think the biggest thing this movie has to face off next month is probably Snow White, and that's not a good sign. But still, though, this is definitely not where they want this movie to be. They were hoping for like a much stronger, better turnout for this movie. This is how they were starting their year, how they were gonna follow up Deadpool and Wolverine, and it's just not really doing that for them. Again, it could be worse, I suppose, and the horizon isn't looking too bad, I guess, but it's also not great. This is a very bad sign of things to come for this movie. I don't know if they'll be able to bounce back from this. This will probably be one of the biggest movies of the year. I mean, certainly going to be the biggest movie of the year domestically, given that not a lot of movies are going to reach the heights that this movie has already. And worldwide, I mean, well, that competition is already done thanks to Ne Zha 2, but still, though, it's still going to be a big disappointment for them. They were definitely hoping for much more, a better response, and just a better way to start their new year, this new lineup of movies. Hopefully Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four turn out better for them, because this is not a great start for them. So yeah, not a disaster, not a total catastrophe like some other comic book movie, but still, a disappointment is a disappointment nonetheless, and this is looking very likely to be one of the first big disappointments of the year, especially a huge dud for Marvel as a way to start off the new year, unfortunately. And those were the top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, and normally this would be the part of the video where I discuss the upcoming new wide releases and seeing where I think they would land in the top 5, but it's looking like it's gonna be a rather slow weekend at the box office. The only new major wide release is Last Breath, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not expecting a lot for that movie. I haven't seen a lot of marketing or buzz really for it, so it'll probably crack the top 5, but just on the lower end, given that the numbers are so low. But still, I just don't have a lot of faith in that film. So yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a pretty slow week. But if there are any big changes to the top 5 domestic box office results, I'll be sure to discuss how well those movies do and where they land on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.